welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a stack of sources about a television program that wasn't just wrestling, but really a pop culture phenomenon, Saturday Night's Main Event.
Yeah, and think of this deep dive as like a shortcut to understanding how this iconic show went from this late night experiment actually replacing Saturday Night Live sometimes.
That's wild in itself.
Totally. And then becoming this record-breaking ratings giant, navigating periods where it just disappeared and then, eventually finding its way back.
So we're going to explore its surprising origins, trace its path across different networks, different eras, relive some absolutely key, unforgettable moments.
Oh, there are some classics.
Definitely. And really dig into why, even today, it remains so significant. Our mission is basically to pull out the most important bits, the surprising facts from these sources, so you can feel really well informed about this unique piece of TV history.
Okay, let's jump in. Saturday Night's Main Event, or SNM as pretty much everyone calls it, kicked off in 1985. The initial idea, it actually grew out of a deal between the WWF owner back then, Vince McMahon, and Dick Ebersol, who was the executive producer of Saturday Night Live.
Ah, okay. Ebersol.
Yeah, and Ebersol had seen the enormous ratings that previous WWF specials on MTV had pulled. Things like The Brawl to End It All and The War to Settle the Score in 84, 85. He saw there was a huge audience just waiting.
Hungry for more wrestling on, more accessible TV. And it landed right on NBC, initially taking over the Saturday Night Live late night slot on Saturday nights, which, makes sense for the name.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating here, maybe the key to its immediate success, was how different SNME was from the usual weekly wrestling shows back then.
How so?
Well, those syndicated shows, the cable shows, they often had what were called squash matches. Established stars just quickly beating lesser-known guys.
Right, build up the stars.
Yeah. SNME flipped that completely.
Yeah.
It was built almost entirely around star versus star matches. Big ones, title defenses, special gimmick matches. That kind of top-tier, important feeling wrestling on free TV. It was incredibly rare then.
So it wasn't just another wrestling show. It felt like a major event every single time it aired.
Precisely. And it perfectly coincided with, and honestly, it genuinely helped fuel what people call the second golden age of wrestling in the U.S.
And a huge part of that success had to be the stars, right?
Yeah.
Like Hulk Hogan showing up consistently.
Absolutely. Hogan didn't usually wrestle on those regular syndicated shows. So if you wanted to see Hogan actually in action on free TV, SNME was pretty much the main place, maybe the only place you were going to see it regularly.
That makes a huge difference. So it wasn't weekly, but it had a pattern.
Yeah, from 1986 onwards, it settled into this really predictable rhythm. You get one around New Year's, then late Feb or early March, late April, early May, late September, early October, and Thanksgiving weekend.
Kind of quarterly plus holidays.
Pretty much. And some years, like 89 and 90, they even threw in summertime bonus editions in July. So it wasn't this weekly thing you had to follow, but more like a special appointment viewing event.
And the ratings were, they were huge for late night, weren't they?
Astounding. Just astounding. The sources point to the episode on March 14, 1987. It pulled an 11.6 rating. And get this, that rating still stands as the highest rating any show has ever gotten in that specific late night Saturday time slot.
Wow. Still, after all these years.
Still. And that specific show, it featured that big battle royal with Hogan and André the Giant, which was, a crucial build towards the massive main event of WrestleMania 3rd.
That Hogan-Andre build was everything back then.
It really was. And that success wasn't just contained to late night. It was so big it actually spawned a primetime spinoff, the Main Event, which aired once a year on a Friday night.
Okay, I remember that.
The very first one, February 5, 1988, had the huge Hogan versus Andre rematch. The sources say it drew, wait for it, 33 million viewers.
33 million.
And a 15.2 rating, which, according to the sources, is still the highest rated television show in American pro wrestling history.
That's incredible. Just incredible reach. It really shows how mainstream it was.
Absolutely.
And beyond the matches, the original run had its own feel, right? Production elements people remember.
Oh yeah, definitely. The theme music is a big one. For the first few years, 85 to 88, it was Obsession by Animotion.
Instantly recognizable.
Totally. Then from 88 to 91, they switched to this WWF-created instrumental piece.
Okay.
Fun fact, that second theme was actually first used for the 1987 WWF Slammy Awards.
Didn't know that.
And you also had that cold open they started using from October 86. Quick wrestler promos, kind of intense, set to Lee Ray Nor's traveling music.
Yeah, I remember those. And the closing themes, weren't they big pop songs sometimes?
They were. Take Me Home by Phil Collins, Higher Love by Steve Winwood. They really gave it that big event feel.
And commentary, the voices of the show.
Often it was that classic pairing, Vince McMahon and Jesse the Body Ventura. Absolutely. Bobby the Brain Heenan, another icon, sometimes jumped in during 86 and 87. And when Ventura left, Roddy Piper actually stepped in alongside McMahon in 1990.
Man, what a lineup over the years. And the moments.
Yeah.
This era just delivered so many unforgettable things.
Oh, yeah. Beyond the huge Hogan-Andre stuff, you had really unique things like Uncle Elmer having a legitimate wedding live on air. That was SNME 2, October 85.
A real wedding on a wrestling show.
A real wedding. And those early episodes were crucial for building WrestleMania 2. You had segments like Mr. T versus Bob Orton in a boxing match, or the Dream Team versus the British Bulldogs for the tag titles, setting the stage.
Oh, and the Jake Roberts attack on Ricky Steamboat, SNME 6, May 86, that DDT on the concrete floor.
Chilling. Absolutely chilling. It was shocking, made Roberts look incredibly dangerous, and really showed off how devastating that move was. It wasn't just a wrestling move, it felt like genuine danger. Elevated Roberts instantly.
It really did. But there were positive moments too, right?
Oh, for sure. Like the formation of the Mega Powers Hogan, Randy Savage, Miss Elizabeth, that happened after they saved Elizabeth on SNME 12 in October 87. Big feel-good moment.
Right, and then back to the drama, Andre shoving the cameraman.
SNME 13th in November 87.
Yeah.
Or that really intense bit where Andre attacked Hogan after a match on SNME 14th in January 88. That directly set up the main event.
Yeah.
The one with 33 million viewers.
It wasn't always planned stuff either, was it? Weren't there injuries?
Yeah, Harley Race suffered a legitimate, pretty nasty injury crashing through a table during a match with Hogan. That was his SNME XV, March 88. Shows the risks involved, even then.
And Hogan himself took time off.
He did. Went off to film the movie No Holds Barred. That's why he wasn't on SNME 16th in April 88.
Interesting. And Savage, you could see his turn coming on SNME.
Definitely. On SNME 9X in January 89, after the main event, Savage was showing maybe a bit too much concern for Miss Elizabeth while Hogan was down. Subtle hints, foreshadowing his big heel turn that would explode later at the main event too. Really smart long-term storytelling playing out on these specials.
And the movie tie-in came back around with Zeus.
It did. Tommy Lister Jr. showed up as his character Zeus from No Holds Barred on SNME XE1 in May 89.
Right, the human wrecking machine.
Exactly. Then Zeus interfered in a match later that summer, SNME XE Day in July. The whole angle was built around Hogan being completely unable to hurt this guy, setting up their big match at SummerSlam 89.
And that same episode, SNME XE2, had the first title change ever on the show.
That's right. The Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, beat Demolition for the Tag Team Championship, a big deal for the show's history. And he even saw non-wrestling celebs like George Steinbrenner in the crowd sometimes, like on SNME 9X. Just showed its mainstream reach.
But even with all that, things started to fade.
Yeah, ratings began to decline a bit after 1990. The sources suggest maybe it coincided with NBC getting the NBA broadcast rights. Priorities might have shifted for the network, less interest in these quarterly wrestling shows.
Leading them to drop it in 1991.
Exactly. End of that huge original NBC run.
So after that incredibly successful NBC era ended in 91, the WWF took Saturday night's main event over to Fox in 1992.
Yeah, but this chapter, it wasn't very long at all. A really brief run. Just 2 episodes aired on Fox.
Only 2?
Yep. One on February 8th, 1992, that was SNME number 30. And the second, which turned out to be the final one for a long time, on November 14th, 1992, SNME 31.
And who was on commentary for those Fox shows?
For those 2, Bobby Heenan was back. He partnered with Vince McMahon at the broadcast table.
Okay, good pairing. Did anything significant happen in just 2 episodes?
Still managed a few notable things. That February 92 show had a stipulation where the winner of the Intercontinental title match had to face Bret Hart at WrestleMania 8. That was a direct storyline driver.
Setting up Mania. Makes sense.
And the November show, after a Randy Savage match, there was this pretty big angle where Jake Roberts and The Undertaker attacked Miss Elizabeth backstage. Yeah. That didn't air immediately on SNME, I think, but it was revealed later on the Superstar show. Kept a major storyline going.
Gotcha. So that November 14th, 1992 episode. That was it. The end of the original SNME.
That was it. Marked the end of the original run. The show would be off television entirely for almost 14 years after that.
Wow. 14 years. Okay, so fast forward quite a bit. 2006, SNME comes back.
It does. It was revived as part of a bigger deal WWE made with NBC Universal. This was around the time their main weekly show, Raw, came back to the USA Network in 2005.
Right, so it wasn't quite the same format, was it? More like occasional specials.
Exactly. It was billed as a special series of primetime specials that would air, now and then on NBC itself.
And this time, it featured wrestlers from all the different WWE brands.
Yeah, that was a key difference. Performers from Raw, SmackDown, and also ECW after WWE relaunched ECW in June 2006. So you got a much wider mix of talent compared to the original run.
How many episodes did this revival have?
The first one aired March 18, 2006, SNME 32. I think it had a 1-hour time delay initially. One later episode actually aired live. But altogether, there were 5 episodes in this run, stretching from 2006 to July 2008.
5 specials over about 2 years. And the commentary teams rotated.
They did, yeah. Depending on which brand's match was happening. You had Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler, Michael Cole, JBL, Paz, Joey Styles. Kind of a mix and match.
Was there a standout moment or storyline from this 2006-2008 run?
Well, one that definitely got people talking was the Mickie James storyline, her growing obsession with Trish Stratus. That led to that really memorable, kind of intense attempted kiss and attack after a tag match on the very first revival episode, SNME 32, back in March 2006.
I remember that angle. It was pretty edgy.
It was. But after that July 2008 special, this revival series was also discontinued. NBC and WWE kind of shifted gears and started doing those hour-long WrestleMania highlight specials for NBC each year, starting in 2009.
So SNME went dormant again on TV.
Yep, another quiet period for the name on television.
But the name itself, Saturday Night's Main Event, it didn't totally vanish, right? Didn't they start using it for live shows?
That's interesting, yeah. In April 2022, WWE actually started repurposing the name, but for their non-televised live events on Saturday nights, the house shows.
Right, the shows that aren't usually broadcast.
Exactly.
Right.
So using the SNME name for those kind of kept the brand alive, kept those logos and that feeling circulating, even if it wasn't on TV.
Which leads us up to the latest chapter.
Yeah.
The second television revival.
Correct. Announced in September 2024. This came out of that new big 5-year agreement between WWE and NBC Universal, the same deal that brought SmackDown back to the USA Network.
And part of that deal required WWE to produce specials for NBC.
Yeah, a key part. WWE has to produce 4 primetime specials for NBC each year for the length of the contract. And WWE decided to brand these specials once again as Saturday Night's Main Event.
Bringing it back properly. So the current version started airing when?
December 14th, 2024. That was SNME number 37. These are 2-hour specials broadcast on NBC. They stream on Peacock here in the US, and they're also on YouTube internationally.
And this new version, it feels very deliberate in calling back to the 80s, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Very intentional homages. They've brought back throwback looks like the red, white, and blue ring ropes.
Classic.
Totally. They're using branding with a WWE throwback logo, which interestingly is basically the golden era logo from 82-94. But, and this is because of that legal settlement with the World Wildlife Fund, they can't use the old F in new footage. So it's the classic logo minus the F.
Ah, that explains the subtle difference. Still looks right, though.
It does. Captures the vibe.
And the theme music. They brought back Obsession.
They did.
Right.
Animotion's track is back. That's pure nostalgia right there. And maybe the biggest nod to history. The location for the first episode of this new run, SNME 37.
Where was it?
Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. The exact same building where the original show debuted back in 1985, nearly 40 years earlier.
Wow, that's fantastic. Full circle.
Really cool way to launch it. And this recent run is already making its own moments. We saw the first ever WWE Women's United States Champion crowned on that first show back, SNME 37.
That's historic.
And for fans of that original era, get this. WWE Hall of Famer Jesse the Body Ventura has actually come back to do commentary on multiple episodes.
No way. Ventura's back.
Bringing that classic voice back to the broadcast. It's been great.
That's amazing. And Cody Rhodes, the champion, using the old belt.
Yeah, Cody, as the undisputed WWE champion, has been wearing the classic Winged Eagle Championship belt from the 80s. Fits that throwback feel perfectly. And we've seen big segments advancing major stories, like a contract signing moderated by Shawn Michaels on SNME 38 in January 25.
So they're using these specials for significant stuff, not just throwaway matches.
Definitely. Big returns, too. Cody Rhodes came back after WrestleMania on 1. Bronson Reed returned from injury on SNME 39 in May 25. And the main events feature top current stars. Cody versus Kevin Owens, Gunther versus Jey Uso, Jey Uso versus Logan Paul. big matchups.
So with those 3 new episodes, where does that put the total count?
According to the sources, those 3 bring the total franchise count up to 39 episodes.
39, just in time for its 40th anniversary season, basically.
Exactly. Ties in perfectly. And they've already announced the next one, SNME 40, scheduled for July 12, 2025 in Atlanta. So it seems like it's back as a regular fixture, at least for the duration of this NBC deal.
Okay, so we've tracked this whole journey. From a late-night experiment replacing SNL to this ratings behemoth, different networks, periods of being gone, revivals. What does it all mean? What's the legacy and impact of Saturday night's main event when you look back?
Well, I think its success in the 80s fundamentally proved something huge. That mainstream network audiences would tune in big numbers, for high-profile special wrestling events featuring the absolute top stars.
It wasn't just for the hardcore fans on cable. It could be truly mainstream.
Exactly. It showed wrestling could play on broadcast network television and reach a massive audience.
And you have to think that success really paved the way for how wrestling presents its big shows today, right? Pay-per-views, network specials, even inspiring direct spin-offs like the main event.
No question. And the whole vibe of the original SNME, the look, the sound, that specific energy, it became instant shorthand for that massive WWF boom period in the 80s.
Which brings us right back to the current revival. It feels like they're tapping directly into that nostalgia, aren't they?
Oh, explicitly. By bringing back the theme music, the ropes, the logo style, even having Ventura back. They're directly connecting with fans who remember that golden era. But they're doing it while showcasing current stars and storylines, hoping maybe to hook a new generation too.
It's just such a fascinating journey for one TV show title. Replacing SNL, ratings giant, disappears, comes back, disappears again, comes back again. It really highlights how entertainment evolves, how network deals totally shape what we see.
And the sheer power of nostalgia, right? Bringing back these beloved brands.
Definitely. And thinking about all those different versions, the late night quarterly specials, the primetime multi-brand shows, and now this 2-hour simulcast that's so deliberately referencing the past, it does make you wonder.
Yeah.
Given its history, its biggest successes came when it put top stars in big matches on free TV and reached this huge, broad audience. Can Saturday night's main event today, in its current form, actually capture that same kind of wide impact again? Can it draw in casual viewers like it used to?
Or
Yeah.
is its main job now maybe more about serving that existing dedicated wrestling audience, giving them something special, while also fulfilling those important network agreement obligations?
It's something to think about, right? Where does this iconic show truly fit in today's crowded media world? Definitely something to mull over.